One of my oldest childhood memories in video games is the fight between Link and Ganondorf on The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. Most specifically when you get to the second phase of the fight and Ganondorf turns into this beast pig form. It seriously made me anxious because the pig boss's face still kind of looks strangely humanoid. Plus, the deep music in the background only contributed to the anxiety during the fight. But it was not until I grew up and started playing more Zelda games that I became interested in understanding why is Ganon a pig? All throughout the Zelda timeline, Ganon appears in different variations of his pig form, sometimes with a more humanoid appearance, sometimes with a more animalistic appearance, and sometimes just as an abstraction of evilness that still looks like a pig. But to understand better, I think it's important to take a look at the Legend of Zelda's lore and the beginnings of Ganon. Stress is making my hair fall off, and it's because 98% of you are not subscribed. So if you want me to recover my hair, subscribe! So, to give a little bit of context, the land that becomes Hyrule in The Legend of Zelda was originally created by 3 goddesses. After the creation, these goddesses left, only leaving behind the triangles that would form the Triforce, and to care for it, they also left Goddess Hylia. The first game in the timeline, Skyward Sword, gives us the origins of Ganon, while establishing key elements of the franchise. Before the events of the game happen, the Demon King Demise, along with other demons, are running amok as they crave the powers of the Triforce, and Hylia, to protect her people, sends them in a chunk of land to the sky and stays behind to battle the demons. She is able to defeat Demise and seal away the demons, which left her quite weakened. Knowing that eventually the seal on the demons will break, Hylia plans for a hero to rise and defeat Demise when the time comes, while also demoting herself from goddess to mortal, so she can also wield the Triforce. This is to become Zelda. So when we get to the actual things that happen in the game, Link has risen as the hero and Zelda as the reincarnation of the goddess Hylia, which together joined forces to defeat Demise, who has been released from his seal. But when the battle ends and Demise is defeated, he curses Link and Zelda to be forever reincarnated and haunted by the incarnation of his own hatred, thus beginning the cycle of Link and Zelda forever defeating the incarnation of Demise's hatred, Ganon. But truly the first appearance of Ganon in the Zelda timeline is through Ganondorf in The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Before the game, Ganondorf is born as the sole male of the Gerudo tribe, where one male is born every 100 years and becomes their leader. After all his adventures, Link and Zelda finally fight Ganondorf, and he transforms into Ganon. Depending on the outcome of this battle, the timeline splits in 3, and throughout each of these timelines, we can see encounters with different forms of Ganon. In the Hero is Defeated timeline, at the end of the game, even though Link has been defeated by Ganondorf, he gets sealed away by the sages in the Sacred Realm. In the following games of the timeline, we get many occasions in which Ganon is liberated from his seal and sealed back again. Mostly, we see him shown in his pig-like form that is somewhat humanoid. These games are A Link to the Past, Oracle of Ages, A Link Between Worlds, and the original Legend of Zelda games. Moving on to the child timeline where Link successfully defeats Ganon, Link goes back to his childhood to warn Princess Zelda of Ganondorf's treachery, preventing the event of the defeat timeline. This leads to the event of Twilight Princess, in which we get to fight Ganondorf, possessing Princess Zelda, Ganondorf himself, and also Pig Beast Ganon, which turns out to be looking very animalistic. After his defeat, we see him once more on the timeline in Legend of Zelda 4 Swords, but he is looking a bit more pig-like and not so much like Ganondorf. And finally, we get the missing timeline. This is where, after defeating Ganondorf, Link goes back in time, and it follows what happens in the timeline that Link has just left. Years later, Ganon creeps back from the Sacred Realm, wreaking havoc without no one to stop him, since Link is no longer in this timeline. We get this information as the pre-happenings of Wind Waker. This is the only time when he is spoken about in the game, since the final fight in Wind Waker is not with the beast Ganon, but instead it's with Ganondorf. Then we get Breath of the Wild, which takes place thousands of years into the future, and supposedly it kind of ties all the timelines together, but most importantly, now Ganon has taken the form of pure evil, no longer human, a pig, or a humanoid in between. This time we just get a smoky pig-like creature, still the clear embodiment of evil. Still at the end, we go back to the full hellish-born pig. But why a pig? The portrayal of Ganon as a pig-like creature in the Legend of Zelda series is deeply rooted in cultural and mythological symbolism. Pigs, or boars, have often been associated with negative traits, such as greed, gluttony, and destruction in various cultures, making them a fitting representation for a villain like Ganon. Supposedly, the Legend of Zelda games and ambience takes place in a more European, somewhat Christian context, but still, there are a lot of similarities with the symbolisms of how Japanese culture depicts pigs and boars. In Christianity, pigs are often associated with sin, uncleanliness, and demonic possession. For example, in the New Testament, demons are cast out of a man and into a herd of pigs, which then rush into the sea and drown. In medieval European folklore, pigs are also linked to the deadly sin of gluttony as well as greed and excess, which are central to Ganon's character as a power-hungry tyrant. In his different forms, be it animalistic, humanoid, or human, we get different abstractions of his greed and his destructive capabilities. This is also strengthened by Japanese mythology, because boars are often seen as symbols of recklessness, brute strength, and destruction. They are also associated with natural disasters, as the wild boar is considered a creature of the forest and mountains, capable of causing a lot of chaos. In Shinto beliefs, certain animals can be seen as kami, or manifestations of divine or demonic forces. A boar can represent a destructive or chaotic force of nature, much like Demise's evil energy never-endingly reincarnating into Ganon to cause destruction. Ganon's pig-like form is a visual representation of his role as the embodiment of Demise's hatred and malice. The boar symbolizes brute strength, destruction, and primal chaos. These qualities align perfectly with Ganon's character as villain. Additionally, the pig's association with greed and gluttony reflects Ganon's insatiable desire for power and the Triforce, which we can clearly see all throughout the timelines. This creature is sealed, liberated, and resealed just to be liberated and resealed once again. And when he's taken care of for good, then, well, he's not, because he comes back to haunt Zelda and Link, craving the powers of the Triforce once more. It's clear that by drawing on these cultural and mythological symbols, the Legend of Zelda creates a villain who is not only menacing, but also deeply rooted in universal themes of evil and corruption. This shows that there is an actual reason and meaning as to why he is a pig. Ganon's design serves as a constant reminder of the curse set in motion by Demise, a curse that binds Link, Zelda, and Ganon in an endless cycle of conflict out of greed, destruction, and recklessness.